Oh, we should also clap.
We forget it. Yeah. We forget these things.
I got like 11 minutes here.
Exactly, 11 minutes of gold.
I restarted because I'm responsible. I have 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
All right, hold on. I'll restart mine. There we go.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
Right at 3 minutes.
11 minutes.
11:17.
It's like the thunder after the lightning.
Right at 3 minutes. Straight up.
My kids are like just going to bed, it sounds like. So,
Jared, our video is not coming through.
I don't know why it's doing this.
Oh, there, it just popped up for me. Nope, now it. Nope. You fixed it.
Yeah.
Good job. Maybe.
I'm actually holding an antenna, you know?
Man, YouTube's straight broken.
This is a professional.
Okay, I got it fixed.
All right.
Fine, I'll click on our damn link. Hang on.
Got to get them views.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gonna prime the pump.
Add the stats.
Okay, we got name tags on there and everything. Look how professional.
Nobody's gonna watch this though, right? Like, not live anyway. I mean, they'll
one
tune
of our
in later.
58 subscribers might tune in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
58 subscribers.
Just a little treat for the loyal fan out there.
We need to start charging.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all ready?
Yeah. Now that we finished talking about interesting things, let's get
I
this thing
forgot how
going.
to do this, so here we go.
I've been prepping for 6 months.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show. This is the Game by Show podcast. It is December the 26th. This is the day after Christmas, the year of our Lord 2023. Friends, my name is LeGrand Jolly. This evening, all 4 of us are here. We got Jeremy Lamont. Say hi, Jeremy.
Hey, hi, Jeremy.
Dale Jones.
Hello.
And last but certainly not least, our video producer himself, Jared Red Eye Dunn. What's going on, fellers?
I feel targeted.
You are being targeted. That is exactly what's happening.
You can officially stop holding your breath now. I know it's been a little while, setting a record out there, but yeah, this is this may or may not be your grandpa's podcast. I mean, by the time this thing comes out of the time capsule,
this is the gritty reboot.
Well, hopefully. we experimented with a new format, and the cassette tape mailing service just didn't take off.
We're
if you
just
got
called,
one, I hope you enjoyed it.
We're just called Game Bytes Show now. It's so that people know it's new.
Yeah,
that's right. Game Bytes Show.
Game.
There's
Bytes.
a comma in there
somewhere. Game Bytes colon show. The show.
The show.
The
Game
show.
Bytes the show. Welcome to Game Bytes the show, friends. Listen, it was like it's the end of the year. We're getting close to the new year, and it's time for Game Bytes. That's not happening tonight, by the way.
No,
no. We're working up to it though. We're really working.
We got to take a knee at this point before we do stuff like that now.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are working this week, so I was like, "Yo, let's record a podcast," and here we all are.
Just
clearly, there's demand from our listeners and demand from our hosts to make some sort of audio monstrosity on a semi-regular basis. And listen, no promises that we're back for good, but we're gonna make our best efforts. Maybe.
I mean, eventually, yeah. Eventually, someone's going to die, and we're going to have a very special episode or something. I don't know. You can start putting us in the death pool now.
Yeah, yeah. Want to hear something super morbid?
It's definitely going to be Jared, man. He's gonna go to one of his stupid real life fights.
So here's real talk. So next month in January, I turn 40.
Oh.
And 4 days after I turn 40. I'm participating in my first ever fencing tournament, so that could be it.
That would be like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming back today to play pro ball.
Olympics bound, Jared Red Eye Dunn, 2024. He's going for the team. He didn't say that.
He's going to pull a hammy and fall on his own
Olympics
bastard sword.
So unready.
No, there's no bastard swords in fencing tournaments, Jared.
Yeah, it's all bassilards.
It's an arming sword.
Some dude brings a halberd.
So the tournament is actually down in Austin, and it is one of the few that has a sword and buckler only competition, which is what I've been learning for 2 years. So
sword and buckler.
Is that an Olympic sport? The
No.
sword and buckler.
It's not.
Lame.
Will you be keeping Austin weird at that point?
It is called Weird, the tournament.
Oh, well, there you go.
You got to bring
What's-
your best Elder Scrolls
What-
moves to this
what's-
thing. Like I want to see you stepping back and
Combat
swinging.
rolls and stuff.
Yeah.
So what? Stepping back and swinging is very common.
Oh, I know. I've played the Elder Scrolls.
What's
I beat everybody that way.
What's great about this tournament is the arrangements for like you can get your own hotel or whatever, but they have like this indoor practice field that you can camp on overnight. And I'm like, there's no way I am camping overnight on the floor, getting up at 8 a.m.
Imagine this old man
for
holding
4
his
hours.
back as he gets out onto the pitch. on
If
the
you
field.
want the real experience, though, you have to do that.
I guess.
I think that's
Wow.
required.
Jared,
I'm just gonna
congrats
stay
on
at a
winning the
Holiday.
tournament.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I stayed at a
You gotta
Holiday Inn
stay at the
Express.
sponsor hotel
Yeah,
at the very
All these other losers camped on the practice ground.
They've got the alchemists on the side of the field with ibuprofen and like in water, and you just
Yeah.
Just grind it up.
yeah.
Man. Are you gonna video this, Jared?
I'm sure there will be video.
This it's
Are
going
you
to be
going to
so
post it?
humiliating.
Oh
How do we
yeah.
post this
I
tomorrow?
hope I at least win one round. That's it. That's my hope.
You know what? You
Why
will.
wouldn't you? You've been practicing for upwards of
Listen.
what 2 years out of your 40-year life.
But you got these young whippersnappers.
Listen, you could beat the crap out of any child. I'm pretty sure that you can at least stab some
Now's
kid.
your opportunity to get your kids into this, so that when they turn 40, they're like dominant in the
You need some
sport.
squires to carry you off the field.
Yeah.
To buckle your armor on you, like
Yeah, that's right.
your lance, Sir Lancelot.
Yeah, Jared's definitely going out first. Sorry.
That
guys.
sounds good. Sounds pretty good. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I think this is our catch-up episode. I don't know if we have any real plans for a strict format with this end of the year episode. I don't know. Let's just talk about what we've been up to. I mean, it's been 6 months since we've heard from us.
Well, do you want to
In
talk
general?
about specifically video games? Do you want to talk about like kind of how video games are going, or what's your?
I don't even know, man. We didn't really talk about this. We were
No, we
winging
didn't.
it. Your
No.
words. This is a direct quote. We're just gonna wing this. Like the answer is yes.
Wing it.
Yeah, guess
Here
we're
we
gonna do
are.
it.
Birds of a
Well, the
feather.
funny thing is, I play far fewer video games when I don't have a podcast to actually get on and talk about. But I will say this. So I'll talk about a recent video game just because it just will get us back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, the DLC, free DLC for God of War Ragnarok just came out this last week. Was it last week? Maybe
Came out the day after the Keelys,
It was like the
right?
15th. Yeah, it was something like that. It was like the 15th.
Yeah.
And so God of War Ragnarok, I'm pretty sure did pretty well at Game Buddies of last year.
That was like
Um,
last year release, right?
Yeah. And so this just sort of came out of nowhere. Like they announced it at the Game Awards. It shows Kratos is on there. Everybody's like and so what they've done with
Boy.
this is that but the boy's not part of this. What God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a standalone DLC expansion. It's not part of the regular game. And Kratos and Mimir, the head, the little dude that is his little Scottish advisor kind of guy. They arrive on the shores of a strange beach, and spoiler alert, it's Valhalla.
It's Valhalla.
Or it purports to be Valhalla. He received a note from somebody saying, come and whatever. And I'm just now deciding how little I actually want to talk about this now that I'm here. But
And it's a murder mystery when he gets there. It's an island. There's a cast of characters.
And you're Alec McBeal.
Let me put it this way. God of War Ragnarok is
Wait. I'm at
One of-
literally the last mission of this game.
so let me
if
just
you
say
were-
though.
if you're
No,
trying
no,
to spoil anything,
No.
there's gonna be words. I'm
God of War
literally-
Ragnarok is one of the best written video games
100%.
low these many years. And I think it was Ragnarok that really, because I like God of War 2018. I liked it, but I was really ready for God of War Ragnarok because it has demonstrated to me, and I got out. So here, little side note here. My daughter, we were hit with Christmas break, and I was cleaning out something in my closet, and I found one of my old plastic tubs of all of my old hideous nerd stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, look at this. And I got it out. and it's got like 3 different God of War Kratos statues. It's got all of my
Cool.
Tron 2.0 action figures. I've got like all of these. Do you remember the old Matrix, like the Matrix action sets that had like the the lobby scene from the first movie, and it had like little shot up pillars with little like plastic bullet ricochets going off things. And the scene from the chateau in the second movie, stuff like they had these giant. They're not even play sets. They're just like put this figure here,
Dioramas?
like diorama,
Yeah.
these dioramas. So I had this stuff, and I was getting it. And I'm showing my dad, and she's like rolling her eyes into the back of her head. She's just like, "This is not." She's like, "This, Dad, you are the worst."
Pull an eye muscle.
But I had 3 different God of War statues, and I realized how much that series, like it used to be in like the early 2000s, it was like, oh, he's gonna kill Zeus, and like, oh, that was so cool. He's so edgy and dark, and I was all for it back then. I played every single God of War game, the PSP games, the 2 different PSP games, the remakes, God of War 3, all of it, and Ragnarok takes this. I mean, they did it in 2018, but Ragnarok really dives into like the character of Kratos, which sounds like the stupidest thing because it used to be like, it sounds awful, but it's so good. And I just want to tell you that God of War Ragnarok Valhalla goes even deeper. Like
What?
Yeah, that's all I want to say about it.
Oh my god.
That's all I want to say about it. But these guys, the guys who made this, they're like, you know what? Let's make a real character out of the thing from 20 years ago.
They finally got around to it.
I mean, and I've just been thinking about the legacy of God of War. And Legrand, I don't know, I finally watched Raising Kratos like in spring of this year. I don't remember if I talked about it.
No, you didn't. But that's great.
But they get the guys out, the different directors, David Jaffe, the original director and creator, and Stig Asmussen, who did number 3, and Corey Barlog, who did number 2, and then has been the creative director in these more recent God of War series. And they just love this thing, and they pour it in. And I didn't even realize until I started playing, like, wow, God of War is really like in my fibers somehow. And they lean into it really hard, and they do such a good job. They just do such a good job. You don't have to have finished God of War Ragnarok in order to play Valhalla. It does not. It's really like a separate little thing. And so here's what they've done with it. It's not just a story, visual novel or something. So they've taken assets and kind of remixed it, and they've made Valhalla into this idea. It's like a roguelike kind of thing.
Ooh.
So Kratos keeps going back in, and every time you open a chest, you get to pick from the entire length of the game, runic attacks and weapon upgrades and stuff. And so you can choose from among different things. You kind of decide, sort of like FTL. It's like, well, do you want this or do you want that? And you're like, well, the Blades of Chaos are, pretty good, and I use this move a lot. Okay, I'm going to do this. And then you come to something else, and it's like, well, do you want a different runic attack for a different weapon, or do you want to double down on this? And you're like, I think I'm going to double down. And it's like Returnal, because there's like a risk reward thing, and you can go to obelisks where it will be like your next 4 encounters you can't dodge. But when you get through 4 encounters, then you get this amazing, explosions every time you do a heavy attack or something like that. And then as you do it, sort of like Returnal, if you're familiar with Returnal, the game moves forward narratively as you go. And you can die and, whoops, guess I get nothing from that. But there's also, currency that stays with you so that you can unlock, strength bonuses so that you just kind of, your character keeps growing as you play through it. And it's just really well done. And it's free DLC for God of War Ragnarok. And it is one of the best things that's come out this year. By itself. It's way more than you would expect. I mean, it's more than the single player in some other games that are out there. I mean, it's just really well done. So if you have a PlayStation 5, you should already have God of War Ragnarok. If you don't, get it, play it, whatever.
Get 2018 and then get Ragnarok.
Yeah, do this all. In fact, so my daughter, my teenager, my 15-year-old, has been with me consistently. Like, she has really, like, she's like, Dad, you should play God of War. Yeah, I want to watch you play God of War. I'm like, well, I got to. And she's like, no, go play God of War, because she's totally into it. And I said to her, can you think of any television show that you would watch that is better conceived and written than this game? And she gave me some snarky answer, but the real answer is no. It's like this is top-notch
And that's
creative
just
work.
you playing Valhalla. That's the
Just
Valhalla
Valhalla.
storyline arc or
Just
whatever's going on
all
in
of
there.
it. Just all of it. Just the way it all ties together. I mean, they've just done something that you would not expect with an intellectual property like God of War. And I know that was probably the same thing I said about Ragnarok last year, and it's probably the same thing I said about 2018. But I'll just take it for what it's worth. It is consistently a great, not a good, a great, a legendary entertainment experience. And
It's a purple game.
It's a purple drop.
Legendaries are orange.
It's an orange drop. I just trust Jared. Look, Jared steered me wrong again. Anyway, it's real good. And Valhalla just came out in the last couple of weeks, and you can play it irrespective of anything else. And it's real good.
I see the shiny little menu option there every time because I've actually have been playing God of War with the intent of finishing it, Ragnarok. I fell off of it at some point in January or February when I got something else. I don't know what it was, but
yeah.
After playing through all of Red Dead Redemption 2 this year and putting 90 hours into a playthrough of Cyberpunk, after I got done with that, I'm like, what's my next single player thing? I'm like, well, it's time to finish Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was very far. I feel like I was farther than I was.
Right.
But
there's a lot, though, too.
There's a lot in that game. And I'm at about, I don't know, maybe close to 40 hours in my playthrough. And I just got to the part where Mimir was like, yo, it's we got to go do the thing. And now's your last chance to go do anything you want to do before you go do the thing.
Brother.
So I'm literally at the very end of that game. In fact, if we weren't doing this, and this is my fault because I was the one who suggested we record the podcast. But if we weren't doing this right now, I would be finishing Ragnarok because I'm literally at the end. Like
you should stream it.
The ending? The end of the game?
Yeah, just stream yourself playing it. We'll all jump in. No, I mean I will. I'll watch it, but
I'm down for that. I'll stream it if you guys.
It's good.
I don't know,
it's
whatever.
real good.
Yeah, it's there's something about that, and even so more of this game, like the 2018 was more like, hey, you know, he's a dad now, and he's got this boy, and he's trying to be the dad to this boy, and like you said, this one goes even further in. It's almost like it's kind of like mirrors my own life in a lot of ways because I grew up and I have kids, right?
Everybody says.
So I have my kids, and my kids are the point, and there's a long time where I them all the way, and that's what God of War 2018 is about. And God of War Ragnarok is about letting go and allowing your son to become the son that he's meant to be. The
man he's going to be.
Yeah. And I've really taken to, like, I get frustrated at the game because I hate the puzzle stuff starts to get frustrating to me. Like, oh, I'm running around the world and now I got to figure out how to do this stupid puzzle to open this dumb chest. And I want to do it because I love this game, but I also get tired but I also want more combat because the combat is fan-freaking-tastic, which is why I really want to play Valhalla. And I want more story and even sides content and side stories because the game is just so good. But yeah, that's what I've been dedicating my last. Well, I usually have like a single-player game rolling at any given moment and a bunch of multiplayer shit that I'm kind of dabbling in. But God of War Ragnarok is my current game, my single-player game, and it's like my Saturdays and Sunday morning game where I'll wake up, make myself a cup of coffee, and I'll sit down and play for like 2 or 3 hours, and that's kind of how I've been getting through Ragnarok. But yeah, man, like I'm excited to play Valhalla now that you're talking so highly about it.
I think, and the deeper that you know God of War, like, because for some people, I mean, that God of War was what 2004, 2000 something like that.
Yeah.
The deeper that you are into God of War, the more you will get out of Valhalla. I'll just put it that way.
Wow, okay.
Better life you have.
I've played parts of 1, parts of 2, parts of 3, none of Ascension, parts of the PSP.
Let's see. I finished the first one, and I want to say I finished. Was it Ghost of Sparta? One of the PSP ones.
That's the PSP.
Yeah, that was the first.
And the other one's Chains of Olympus, I think, is the other one.
Yeah, Chains of Olympus is the first one. That's right.
Yeah.
And then Ghost
it
of
might have been
Sparta.
Chains of Olympus. I forget which one it is. I finished one of those, but then I started God of War 2, but I didn't get very far into it. I mean,
with God of War 2, there was the Colossus at the beginning, and like that's the coolest part. So
yeah,
Hey,
I'm
Dale,
pretty sure I
guess
beat
what?
him.
God of War 2018 is on PC, bro. You should just get it and play it.
I know it's on there. At this
Dude.
point, I don't know if my PC would even run it. Like, I'm seriously overdue for an upgrade.
It's time. Just
If it's a
So is your
2018
computer.
game, then yeah, maybe I could run it, but I don't know. We'll see.
look into it. Do it.
It's good.
Do it.
Yeah, we got to talk about. I just want to briefly mention, not briefly, but Cyberpunk 2077. Everyone's kind of been talking about that, and it won awards at the Game Awards, right? Like I think it won something. for Phantom Liberty, the DLC that came out. It was a paid expansion. It was more of an expansion than the DLC because it was about 25 hours long,
It was a lot of
30
game.
hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you play
Yeah.
through it, Jared? Did you play through all of?
Okay, so I played through all of the original Cyberpunk. I 100% of the game. I did every quest, every gig, all of it. I was super into it. I started Phantom Liberty, but I haven't finished it, and I haven't played it in a while. This year was kind of crazy for game releases. I'm gonna be honest.
I would say
it
that.
was just so distracted. So
Yeah, I started a brand new playthrough right when 2.0 came out, when Phantom Liberty came out, and put in 90 hours into that game, I think, in that one playthrough. I did the same thing as you. I did all the gigs. I even did all the police scanner missions. I did absolutely everything. I got every achievement aside from all the different ending achievements. I did not go back through and reload saves and get new endings or whatever. But and I don't know because I think that Jared, you played through the game in its original state when everyone was mad at it. Is that
it
was
fine. I loved it.
Yeah, I played through probably 40 hours at that point. I was actually on the final mission when I kind of stopped playing it back then, and I didn't realize it at the time. And so I have a hard time distinguishing between whether I was also mad at the game back then or if I actually liked the game or whatever. But I will tell you that I am playing on a newer graphics card now. So back then I had my old 1080 Ti or whatever. Now I've got a 3080 that I'm running, so it ran significantly better on my machine. And so I don't really know if this update actually made the game way substantially better or if it was just because I'm having a better experience because of my better machine. I don't know.
So the Phantom Liberty update and then a few updates before that, they had made some pretty significant changes. So even things like driving is less obnoxious now.
Driving's really good in that game.
Yeah, it was really crap at the beginning. It was awful.
I did have lots of bugs. Nothing super game breaking. One game breaking mission bug, and then just a bunch of random things. But the game just felt better, and I hadn't played it since like original launch. Like I didn't play it after any patches or any fixes or anything like that. It was just whatever came out at launch. That's what I played originally. I really liked it back then, but this time, man, I don't know what it was, but I just did everything in that game.
Yeah,
and it was.
Yeah, I'm at 100.
One of the highlights of my year
hours
for sure
in that game. So, and I haven't finished it yet. So, I don't know.
Well, Phantom Liberty's it's good. It has the ending for Phantom Liberties can be wild for sure.
Yeah, so I have been enjoying. I did enjoy it. I haven't played it in 2 months. Gog is telling me, but I need to pick it back up because I was really enjoying it and just again got distracted. But I don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 or
sure
stupid.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 came out, I think, like 2 months before Phantom Liberty.
Okay, I don't know. There was something. There was
probably Baldur's Gate 3, which is also acceptable.
Hey, speaking of stuff that's come out months ago, all you guys, I got to ask all of you: is anybody playing Diablo 4?
I have not yet.
I haven't installed.
So I got a yes,
Steam Deck,
and I have it installed and a no on a Steam Deck. Okay,
it's great on the Steam Deck. It's actually really good on
for about the 90 minutes that the battery will last.
No, you got to plug in and stay plugged into the wall.
Oh yeah,
portable system. No,
yeah.
I actually bought a like a case that goes on my Steam Deck. That has
hooks up to a car battery.
Yeah. Basically, it has this
6 AA batteries
where you can put like a battery pack on it, or sometimes I just put the charger in there and like carry it around. And if I need the charger, I got it.
Dude, I can't wait until they get like the little magnifying glass hook-on thing that flips down over the top.
Oh, yeah.
and like a
the worm light,
a front light, that comes down on it.
Yeah,
oh,
I had
the OLED
on
one. You have to get the front light for that. It's not going to look very good.
I had that for my Game Boy.
You don't need the like little clip-on thing to turn the D-pad into a stick because it's already got sticks built in. So
perfect.
Done. Like,
you got to get the one that's like the combo unit where it has the magnifying glass light and the little D-pad all in one.
You know what? I'm gonna invent the super Steam Deck. I'm gonna be putting it up, mounting it on my bed.
I'm just
you gotta get that plug-in.
For someone to make a like helmet that you can wear the Steam Deck.
Does the Steam Deck have a 3.3 by 5 millimeter headphone jack?
I would imagine.
Yeah,
3.5 millimeter.
What do you
Because if
use
it
for audio?
does, you can get that like thing that they always had for the Game Boy that was like a better speaker that plugged in using the headphone jack
Gosh.
and
The
mounted
little
on
speakers
the thing.
side.
Yeah, you could do those also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the old Magnus.
I'm
What
not
do you listen to? How do you do audio? Do you just like play it out loud, or do you mute it, or what do you do?
So sometimes I have like those stupid Bluetooth earbuds. I'll connect to Bluetooth or just use the speakers on the thing. I've actually really enjoyed docking it to the TV and playing with a controller in bed on the big like 65-inch TV. It's great.
Nice. So you could do a Bluetooth like a game controller and just like lay flat and like if hypothetically if the thing were mounted
Only a
just
Steam
above you.
controller. It's got to be a Steam controller.
Oh,
no,
is that right?
no. Get that Steam control crap out of here. Those things are awful. I use a Stadia controller.
Nice.
Yeah,
Man,
they
I-
released that thing like
The
earlier
Bluetooth
in the
update
year
They
where you
unlocked
could
it.
update. That's what I use.
That's
It's a
gonna
good
carry-
controller.
It's a good
You're the
controller.
best.
Not bad. I've got the Bluetooth version
I did-
unlocked for that too.
I did play a couple of games that really didn't have controller support. So like the Steam Deck will run them, but it like doesn't work. Like it's not fun to play. But I set it up on my TV and got out a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard and hooked it up and just
Sweet.
played. It was great.
I love that.
Yeah, Diablo 4 is kind of I want to get I'll play it again at some point, but there wasn't enough there to keep me going for the seasons.
Isn't that weird? Like what? Why? You know, why wasn't there enough?
I mean the game is awesome. Don't get me wrong, and the way that I play Diablo the way that I play Diablo 4 is not like what the other nerds do to play Diablo 4. Like the people who are leveling to level 100 that takes
Nerds.
what, like
Yeah.
100 hours to get one character to max level. Like my enjoyment of that game, because you actually basically max out your skills by level 50, right? And the level cap is 100. So the fun for me in that game is rolling new characters and trying new builds. So I'll eventually get back to that game and try it and play more of it. But the seasonal content is just kind of like they add new mechanics and just weird stuff, and it's just they have a battle pass or whatever. And I had the ultimate edition of the game, so I had the first season of battle pass, and I played it and a little bit of it. I leveled a character to 50 and then stopped because I didn't want to grind out the rest of the game or the rest of the levels because the progression is just
What's
kind of
the
slower.
point? Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever, it's fine. And I think and quite honestly, and I don't know if you played a lot of Diablo 3 too, Dale, but
Yeah.
Diablo 3 at the beginning didn't have that end game that was really fine tuned.
No, not until later. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that I'll come back to Diablo 4 later down
When they have a
the road.
loot 2.0 update
Yeah, exactly.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when everyone got back into Diablo 3, right?
Yeah, that's when it really got good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's weird that they they're trying to make a live service game. Like they had that secondary expansion announced for Diablo 3 that they never actually followed through with because they didn't have a way to monetize the game or whatever. And so this game is just definitely a different business model, which they got to figure out.
Yeah, I
Blizzard
haven't.
in general needs to figure that shit out.
I've barely looked at it since it was released, but I am curious to see what it is.
Yeah,
Because I've paid so little attention to most video games at all. See what happened for me over the last year was that like mid-December last year or about this time last year, I resubbed to Final Fantasy 11, and so I would almost guarantee that I've played probably more hours of video games this year than any single one of you guys.
Wow.
But it was all Final Fantasy 11 up until kind of like mid-November when I was like, you know what, I think I'm done. And it was just almost like a light switch. Like I was playing like, I was very involved like with guild and all sorts of stuff, or a link shell as they're called in that game. Having just a blast, man, like leveling like every class that I wanted to, getting all sorts of like really great end game gear, and just like at once kind of like revisiting all the things that I loved about that game from way back in the day, but also going through like all of the content that they had added in the 15 years or more since. And man, I was just having a blast. And like that was the only game that I really even thought twice about for much of the last year. Until, like I said, I was kind of like, oh well, I guess I've seen everything now, and I don't really
I'm
need
good.
to hang around. Yeah, basically, you know. So
you were Forrest Gump when he just decided to stop running.
that's
tired
pretty much
now.
exactly what happened. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe in another 5 years, if the game's still going, maybe I check back in again. I don't know, but yeah. So I played, my fill of that, and at the same time, I was just, happily ignoring every single other thing that came out, even and including, Diablo 4, but at Starfield at the time. But then what I did was immediately after canceling my Final Fantasy 11 subscription, I subscribed to Game Pass because I just wanted to play Starfield, right? And not only did I want to play Starfield, but I was like sort of taking a page out of Jeremy's book, and I was only doing the like game cloud X Cloud streaming beta
It
version
is
of
so
Starfield.
good on GeForce Now and Xbox Game Pass now are like
Yeah, that's a new
it is
development. And in
super
fact,
good.
I used it this very evening, not to detract from anything, because Deep Rock Galactic, which I mentioned previously on this show, however, they don't have a single lick of cross-platform play for that game. The closest that it gets is the Xbox and the Windows Store version of the game can play together, and that's it.
Weird.
Steam doesn't play with anything else.
But it's on Game
PlayStation doesn't
Pass, so
play
that's
with
where you
anything.
would play it, right?
But that's the thing. So if I want to play it inside my house, I've got to figure out how to do this thing because I don't have. It's really a question of like coordinating the number of like actual licenses that I've got with the hardware.
Yeah.
So what I did is I figured out that the Windows Game Pass version that streams through GeForce Now is distinct from the one that you install on your Xbox or that you play through the Xbox.
Interesting.
And so I actually have been able to play Rock and Stone with my daughter. I finally figured it out. But big thumbs down to this 5-year-old game for not implementing cross-platform play. But GeForce Now's partnership with Xbox Game Pass.
Well, I'll tell you on the Starfield, that was probably the one aspect of that game that worked well was the streaming of it from xCloud. I'll say I played probably 10, 12 hours of Starfield, enough to like follow the main quest down a few quests, to the point where you're part of the God, what do they call it? You're part of the organization, and then you start like going to meet other characters and going on like little missions and things. And I just couldn't really get over the fact that it was basically everything I was doing in Starfield was something I'd done before in an Elder Scrolls or like a Bethesda Fallout, and it didn't really seem novel. The only thing that was any different at all really was the setting. And to be honest, I'm longtime listeners of the show will know that I'm a big fan of Elite Dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that, maybe amount of writing and plot stuff apart, I'm not sure that Starfield's doing anything better than Elite has already done,
Yeah.
I mean, even these days, Elite even has first-person combat, like where you have legs and you're running around in a first-person.
Or how about No Man's Sky? I mean,
yeah. I mean, No Man's Sky is also to me it almost seems like kind of like a spectrum where like way over here on one end you have Elite, and then way over on the other end you have No Man's Sky, and then like in the middle, or maybe it's like not even, maybe it's like triangle, maybe it's like one of those like kids want to go to McDonald's, we have McDonald's at home. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
It's one of those like triangle gradient or like, positioning things.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I see what they're going for. It's the Bethesda style thing, but it really just seems like that formula has not evolved at all since
that's the problem with that game, I think, is they haven't done anything to change it. It's like the same game that you've played a million times, a half a dozen times, but in space, right?
And why would I do any of the why would I ever go to the galactic map and fly across the space or whatever when you can just fast
Yeah.
travel.
So that
And
was
that,
my biggest
mm,
complaint was it was so reliant on fast travel. Because like
yeah,
even in like say Skyrim, right? You had to like go to the place before you could fast travel there. But in this game you don't. You just
yeah,
fast travel everywhere. And it's like, okay, and I did that for a while. I don't know. I probably put like 20 hours into the game. I beat all of the free
More than me.
star like ranger missions or whatever, and got a cool spaceship. And I was like, it's just it's like the worst parts of Skyrim without any of the like the sort of exploration, and it doesn't feel open world. It just feels like you're just loading a screen over and over.
Would
And
would
over.
you would you
yeah,
say, because we've talked about this before, and I've been kind of really thinking about this for a long time now. The fact that that's we've come through this era where it's been like, well, let's make everything as rewarding as it can possibly be. You know,
Mhm.
like the new Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2. The fast travel is so fast that they artificial. I mean, I guess they were like, oh, could it really be? And I guess Insomniac came out and said, like, actually, we put the loading screen in just to art, so you don't just immediately blink in, and it's like really disorienting.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
kind of in that same, and that's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody likes loading screens. But the idea that you have at your discretion, like, the most direct path to something that, is going to reward you or is going to take you to the next step, and in doing so, there's just not enough to, like, push against, like, there's
Hmm.
not a good thing to really have to work for to accomplish something. They're just giving you reward all the time, and it's like being in the first version of the machine Matrix, where they're like, "We made
yeah.
it. We made it a paradise, and everybody just kept dying. Entire crops were lost." And I wonder if it's something like that. Do you think that
It
there's some?
is. And well, Jeremy, they try to give you combat challenges and things, but it's mushy and it sucks. Like
It's
Bethesda
the
Which
stuff
worst
probably
was.
doesn't
part
help.
Like
Yeah,
every
of
other
Bethesda
Yeah.
games.
like
Yeah.
every
yeah.
other Bethesda game, aside
Yeah.
from
They
Doom.
they really need to work on that. Like, why? How can it have been 15 years since Fallout 3,
And it's
and
still
there's
Fallout
like
3.
nothing to show for it?
Do we know, has this game been commercially successful? Has it been
I don't know.
proportionately successful to the build-up?
No.
I have no
Or
idea.
has Bethesda been rewarded by consumers for what they've done?
Here's the
I
answer to your
mean, I
question.
played it on Game Pass. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
I haven't cared enough about it to
To
pi- to like to know the answer to
keep
that
up to
question.
date.
Who
Yeah.
cares? Like, who
I
cares?
saw
So
a
the
thing
answer
where
is no. That's the
yeah,
answer then.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a thing where a modder, because the big thing about the Bethesda games, Skyrim and all that, is people just mod it, make it better, make it better. I saw a story where there was this modder who was working on Starfield, and he got about 2 weeks into it, and he's like, "Why am I doing this? This game sucks."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably one of the
It's-
top modders for Skyrim, right? Like, was all about
Yeah.
that game and all
Yep.
about Fallout. And
Yep. And he just decided, like, this is not worth it.
I'm done.
I
It
think
just
that
seems like
they
it's
need to
been-
get with the Doom guys and figure out the combat. And I think they
Yeah.
probably have like a decent story there, I would imagine, that there's just, I don't know. Maybe they tried to do too much. Maybe it needs to be pared down. Maybe,
I think
I don't know.
it's almost like the formula they had for Fallout and Elder Scrolls, not the online thing, but the
Yeah.
mainline games, right?
The real Elder Scrolls.
Right. It doesn't translate to that setting. That like open world, but it's the whole universe. Like it's too
Mm.
much. Like you can't. It's not enjoyable. It's like overwhelming, or you don't know what to go do. And then because of the size, like the planets are, they're not handcrafted. So you go to them and you're like, these are boring. It's just like rock after rock. With a
Is it? Did
random
they
building.
procedurally generate stuff?
I don't.
It's to a limited extent.
It's
Yeah,
not
all
a
the planets
copy
have
paste.
they have some procedural elements between kind of like the 6 block location that every
Mm.
giant planet has that's
Yeah.
planned.
And they have all of these systems layered on. They have crafting in the game. You can like scan creatures on planets to like but none of it's fun. The crafting sucks because you have like no inventory space. Oh, you can put it on your ship if
Yeah.
you're next to it. So you like can't just have materials on you, and it's scanning. I did that like twice and got like 20% for one planet. I'm like, I'm done. This is terrible.
I'm so tired of the Bethesda like roam around and like just pick up random junk across the environment.
Here's a
I
bunch
don't.
of eggs,
Uh,
knives,
exactly.
like
Cheese
Here's
wheels.
knives, and you're like, stop it.
here's some like composite metal alloy
Or
thing.
make those have 0 weight. Like, don't
I
punish me for picking your stupid crap up.
I
Yeah.
feel like something like this. The last episode that we recorded prior to this one was LeGrand and me talking about Final Fantasy 16. And I feel, and I still, I guess I haven't really thought as deeply about it as I had said I was going to at that time. But it kind of had the same. What you guys are describing feels kind of like the same thing, where it's like, well, I can fast travel anywhere at any time. When I do these, when I do these big set piece battles or whatever, I get like 6 sharp fangs or something. Like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
And it's like it's got this like weird flavor or scent or something. It just smells like an MMO that didn't quite come through, like I'm like, is this
Yeah.
really what you're telling me it is? Because something feels weird about this. And somehow it just turned me off. And I mentioned in the Discord a couple 3 weeks ago that I finally uninstalled Final Fantasy 16. I think I finally just threw in the towel on it. And
Did you
I-
finish the story stuff?
No, I didn't.
No?
I in fact I don't think I played it once since then. And when I
Wow.
and so I bought Hogwarts, the Hogwarts game, and it's big, and I'm like, well, I need to make some room. So what's going to make some big room? And there's Final Fantasy 16 taking up a big chunk on my hard drive, and I'm like, well, I don't really miss it, so I guess I'll do that.
So here's the Bethesda question for everybody. How do we now feel about Elder Scrolls 6?
Because I want to add on to that question, because as you guys were describing this, you were describing some very outer space stuff, right? Like scanning aliens isn't fun and picking up space rocks isn't fun. What if it's just a like what if you were riding your horse and fast traveling to some desert region or some tropical region,
Well,
and
I
there were
think-
lizard men there instead of space
What made the
aliens?
difference between Oblivion and Skyrim? And where does Skyrim go next? Did we see Skyrim with shinier graphics and another system on it? Maybe? Like, what is Elder Scrolls 6 going to be that's going to actually move the needle? And is Bethesda worried about that? Obviously, they've probably realized that Starfield is, didn't rock everyone's socks, like it was whatever.
I do think
by
there
a
is
small group of people, I would imagine, but
there is
it's not taking the world
something
by storm.
There's something about like the medieval fantasy setting that I think does mesh together with this style of game a little bit better than the grounded sci-fi type of thing that Starfield is trying to do. So I think you're starting off maybe on a little bit better ground. I also think that the what is it, Tamriel? The world of the Elder Scrolls is already better developed than anything they were ever going to do in Starfield, right? And so wherever didn't they say it's like set in like Hammerfell or something? It's the next one. I think they told us, maybe not. But wherever it's being set, like it's a place that already has like some amount of lore, and what they're doing is going in there and they're like fleshing it out. But not only that, it's going to be one big like contiguous land mass where you will be able to like ride over that cliff and into the valley and get to the point where like the biome changes a little bit or whatever, and it'll all sort of hang together better than.
But will you want to, though? Like, if you could just fast travel over the hill.
Yeah, it's a good. Maybe they need to put some sort of restriction on that. Like maybe they let you fast travel, but
I think
it takes time. It takes resources. Or something
I think
like that.
there's something to that.
Friction.
They did that in World of Warcraft. So all the expansions after starting with Warlords of Draenor. So they added flying to the game in Burning Crusade, the first expansion that came out. They added flying mounts or whatever. By the time they got to Warlords of Draenor, they actually made it so you couldn't fly until end game or until you finish the zone. So they forced you to actually walk around or ride a normal mount through the zone so that you could experience the content. In my opinion, is that added a ton to the game because it felt like. And everyone had to do it. It wasn't like there was somebody that was exempt from having to do that, or you had to force yourself to engage with the game that way. Like that is the way the game was designed from that point forward. Is you had to mount up and run through the forest to get to your quest objectives and stuff like that. So.
And it seems counterintuitive in terms of like game design and how you're going to relate to the player, because if you could hit a button and go somewhere or walk over there, most people are going to be like, "Oh, just let me hit the button and just let me get over there because
Well,
that's
that's
where
what
I'm
you did
going."
in WoW. Like once you got the flying mount, you fly over, drop into quest objective, get quest objective, fly straight back up, and fly back. You would
Yeah,
never engage with like the world around you, and they
that's
realized
very
that.
true.
Even Final Fantasy 14 did it, where you had to clear out a zone completely
Yeah.
before you could unlock flying within that zone. And I think it adds a lot to the game. So you're definitely have a point there, where like
You have to
running
push it.
through Skyrim is different than flying through loading screens in.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
This is really something that I ran into with Final Fantasy 11. Way back in the day, you had to hoof it everywhere, right? Like you had to, whether you were walking or whether you were like renting a chocobo, so you had like a mount. It would be like it'd be like a 5 to like 20-minute journey to wherever you were going to do anything. Well, the modern version of that game is they've littered it with like these like home points and like books that you can teleport to, and there's all these teleport points like out in the world, and so they like literally the design philosophy these days is you need to be able to get from anywhere to anywhere else inside 5 minutes in the world. And so I've seen that game from like both sides, right? Like you have to hoof it everywhere and it's a big pain in the ass to go anywhere, or it's like just trivial. And I don't know. It just makes for a very different experience. But I think either way you design your game, you probably have to design a bunch of stuff around it, taking into consideration that one, do you have fast travel or not, sort of decision. So I don't know. It'll be up to them to make it work.
It's interesting because, and I don't know that the space setting for Starfield is necessarily why it wasn't great. I think I was just tired on the kind of the formula of that Bethesda has because shocker, but No Man's Sky was my number one played Steam game again this year. um, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, hey, I mean, it kind of has fast travel. If you think of like you can go to a portal and put in an address and go to wherever you want. But you have to know what that address is. Like, you can't just. I mean, you could go on Wikipedia or on the No Man's Sky wiki and maybe find a bunch of them, but you have to go to the planet first, and you have to find a portal, and you have to ask it what the address is if you want to be able to use that. So it's kind of like the portals you can jump between bases, but otherwise,
We have to earn that though. That's the difference, right?
You have to build it, and I really liked when they added the portal to the your like big capital ship that you can fly around in. Because now I use that thing all the time, whereas before it was like I don't know where I left it because who cares? I never use it.
Yeah, well, I mean that gives you a reason to.
But going like, hey, I'm gonna go do something. You're not fast traveling. You're getting in your spaceship. You're flying out into space. You're pointing a direction and going. And that's what's fun in these open world games is just going. Like, and Starfield didn't have it, and Elder Scrolls did, right? Skyrim did. So if they can latch onto that and keep the world small enough to be consumed and fix their floaty god awful combat.
Oh yeah,
it is unbelievable that it's still an issue for them.
it's high time that they fix that.
I would love to get a job as like the combat designer at Bethesda and just spin in my chair for 5 years, just like.
Yeah,
I'd
but
love
like
to do that.
it has really cool concepts. Like, oh, I can wield a sword and magic in another hand. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, when
But
BioShock did it in 2007 or whatever.
I think Oblivion maybe did it first, but
Morrowind and other games. have
yeah.
that,
But anyway, when I kill someone with lightning and then they go, I'm like, I'm out. This is dumb.
Huh. That's interesting. I have not watched a lot of. I used to be a voracious consumer of GDC, like postmortems and topical presentations and things like that by top flight designers and things. I used to watch that stuff all the time, and I haven't for a lot of years. But I would be very interested in this specific discussion by people who know and people who watch and specifically pay attention to the relationship between an interactive consumer and the medium, the game that they're playing. I would like to see the topic discussed of, we've been moving for so many years on like reward the player, give the player what they want. But it seems like there's this refraction point or something where it's you're giving them too much. Like if you give someone everything they ask for all the time, there's an uncanny valley of entertainment where it's like this now has stopped becoming entertaining to me, and I'm just getting everything that I want. And I feel like designers are at a point, and I think this is very interesting in terms of the longitudinal development of the medium, where they've got to specifically, consciously pull that back and specifically just not give people what they want all the time.
So I'm reminded of God, well, I'm not sure what the name of it was. It just Star Wars Online, like the very first Star Wars MMO,
Star Wars
Galaxies, where like not everybody could be a Jedi. Like you could, and some people were just like the cantina operator, and that was all you did, right? And I'm of a mind of that, like maybe the next Bethesda game needs to be a little bit more down that road, where it's like you can't just have your character go and be like the head of the magic school, the most badass mercenary ever, also the emperor, also the head of the whatever. That you have to. Maybe you need to spend like 30 hours, doing, basic missions before you're even like level 1 of the Barbarians Guild, whatever it is, right? Like you need to, and then that locks you out of other stuff, Yeah.
But that's a tough nut to crack, because then then of course when you do that, then people are like, this sucks. Why don't they let me do the things I want to do? Which let the people do what they want to do. I mean, that's the obvious counterpoint to the thing that I just said, right? Is we'll just let people have their fantasy, let them do what they want to do. Yeah, exactly. But somewhere in there, like we've gotten to a weird point, I feel like, because I don't think it's just Bethesda. I think it's I don't know. I don't know what it is. It might not even just be open world games. I don't know. But
then there needs to be constraints, right? Like, because they make, as with art, they can make something more interesting, but with play as well, there needs to be constraints, or else everybody's Superman and it's boring.
If you're not solving anything, if you're not fixing some problem, if they're just like, why don't you just kill the wizard up on the top of this tower? Oh, you killed the wizard at the top of the tower. Like, that's not fun at all.
It needs to be a challenge or something to work toward.
Somewhere in there. And it's not just the wizard at the top of the tower, but it's getting somewhere and living in a space that feels real. And if it doesn't, then you're like, what am I doing? I don't know. And maybe this is not even I actually do not know if this is actually a problem. Maybe we're the only ones who are even talking about this. And
just a bunch of 4-old guys.
Yeah. But people are just like fine to do whatever. But I just perceive that there's something there, and I would like to hear some smart people talk about it instead of just,
instead of us.
Yeah, instead of us. Yeah.
I think there is something to choosing a role in role playing character, but that's not for everybody, Yeah. People like the arcade. People like the arcadey action.
Yeah.
I mean, just to bring it back to Cyberpunk, like I finished my playthroughs playing a very specific way, and I immediately rolled a new character. I wanted to try something new.
Different.
That game does a good job of allowing you to change things around.
Does it feel different the next time through on like playing a different style?
Well, again, it comes down to whether you want to force yourself to do that or not. And Cyberpunk has a few things in there where you can't completely respec. You can't respec your skill points, but you can respec your perks.
Yeah.
And so the way that I had built my character, I wasn't very stealthy, and I couldn't use like throwing knives and some of the different weapon types because I didn't, choose those attributes for my character
initially. Yeah.
So I think that there is a sweet spot of that, Jeremy, where it's meaningful for a playthrough and would also encourage subsequent playthroughs. It's like playing like Diablo 4, for example. You choose a class, but a class can have 20 different builds that are very different depending on what you're doing. And so,
or is it playing Paragon or Renegade Mass Effect? Committing to.
Well, the problem with that is there's no gray area. You can't make a chaotic neutral guy. It's either
I'll eat these kittens right in front of their mother.
Like you can be a big asshole and then not. And you get the problem with the Renegade Paragon is you get more bonuses the further you go in one direction.
Right. So it encourages that extremism.
Exactly. So unless you commit to full Paragon or full Renegade, you're not going to be able to min max. So I think there's got to be some sort of and again, that should be tied to role playing and not necessarily to gameplay or to min maxing a character. Because everyone wants to be the biggest badass, right?
It's interesting you take a game like No Man's Sky, which I've topped over 500 hours in now, by the way. Thanks, Steam, for telling me that. But
you could have learned a real life skill.
Dude, I could have learned like 8 languages. There are expeditions in that game. So every couple months, whatever, when they have a major patch, they release this expedition. And it's like you have like tasks, goals, and when you do a group of them, you get a reward, right? And your like other save games can get that reward. But it's like the expedition is inherently more limiting than your original save. You have to start a new character. Oftentimes you don't have like a spaceship even. Like you're having to use the different tools they've implemented to navigate the world. And it's like the most fun in gaming I've had in forever. Because it's like, oh, here's a challenge. It feels fresh, but it's also familiar. And then once you complete it, you're like, oh, dude, I did it. Yeah, cool. And now I can go back back into the open world and use my new cool jetpack or whatever and do what I was doing before. But it's kind of a great format that really embraces both the just do what you want but also like, but what if you achieved something in this? What if you worked towards a goal?
Listen, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to allow you to customize your character, but it's going to be real-time weight loss. Like you got to like really like work on it.
San Andreas have that?
Yeah, they did. Well, the bulking up and weight loss, like you know. Yeah.
You ate too much fast food or didn't ride a bike around enough, you get too fat in that game.
Yeah. Like they should give you some like diabetes, like you got type 2.
Diabetes meter.
Yeah. That'll be some real reward when you can beat diabetes.
The other game I've been playing is completely on the design your own fun because there's nothing else. I'm still playing UO Outlands. Like I'm glad there's not a way for me to track how much time I put into that.
Ultima is definitely that open world RPG that you just do whatever you want. Like,
do you play just one character in that game, or how do you do it?
Primarily, I do have multiple characters. Like
I was going to say that is a risky line of questioning.
I have like a blacksmith and a carpenter. I have like all the crafting skills on different characters, but like the one sort of day-to-day like combat guy I use, it's a single character.
What's his name?
Tibble the Shield.
Tibble the Shield.
Sir Tibble. Oh, he's cool. I have been for a while now the guild leader for the Knights Guild, a role-playing group of knights. I don't know, like, and we just make stuff up. We'll get together with the other leaders of like the orc role-playing guild and be like, okay, we're gonna do a battle here. Here's the rules. Here's the ROE, and you just go. I think
it's time for a revival. There's time for a revival of games like that. I mean, my kids do the most gaming and they have a blast doing it.
My kids still play Adopt Me, and like even a little bit of Animal Crossing.
I think there was a new generation that got captured by this with Minecraft, right? The real
there's a lot of survival based games like even like Valheim or other things like that are very make your own fun, and most survival games are basically that. They put you in a world and say, "Cool, here's some systems."
The weird thing about it, those kids, people got hooked on Minecraft. I say kids now. There's like 20-year-olds that are
they're growing body hair now,
right? But it didn't I don't feel like it translated anything. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna go play whatever, and it's like, but nobody picked that formula up, right? It's still just Minecraft.
I don't know. I don't know about
games
that.
I've tried.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that in the broader field of those kinds of games, I mean, I think there were a lot of, base building, I mean, Conan, Exiles did a lot of that. There were a number of
Lord of the Rings Return to Moria that I've been playing.
Isn't it weird that like Fortnite kind of like is a weird cousin of Minecraft.
Well, they just did Fortnite Lego now, and I've heard that it is significantly different than it's not just regular Fortnite, but everybody's made of squares.
Right.
They I
Bricks.
think have they've little nibs and things on there. But I think that it has proliferated. I think that Minecraft is just sort of the emblematic version of that. But I think that I think if you really look at the way that that concept of here's a big wide open space, go dig a hole to live in somewhere. I mean, I think that has been a thing, but I don't think anything has quite ridden the lightning the way that
I
Minecraft
feel
did.
like it's a thing, but they still put the carrot out on the end of a stick to the
Yeah.
detriment of the game.
Hmm.
To where, like, all of the games, including Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, which I really enjoyed, I get to a point where I'm like, okay, the carrot doesn't look as tasty as it did before, and I'm not
Mm.
going to chase it anymore. And now that that's the only way you've played that game, like, I'm not going to go back and do it different, right? And so you just
Right.
kind of space out and don't go back to it. And certain games like Ultima, Minecraft, they don't have that. They don't have any carrots. Like, they're
Yeah, right.
you got to go grow your own carrots if you want carrots.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the thing with Minecraft is if you want to build a, wood burning stove, you've got to go mine all of the
Right.
component parts. You've got to, you just kind of all of that stuff. And that is a bold sort of thing that I don't think a lot of games are really brave enough to do most of the time. I do have one more thing that I'm kind of curious about with you guys, just kind of before we start wrapping up. But it has been, by most accounts, 2023 has been a real banner year for just
Yeah.
game releases in general. And I'm curious if you guys have maybe 2 or 3 games for each of you that either you are really considering, something that you've put on the pile from the last 2 or 3 months that you're intending to get to, even if you haven't yet. I'm kind of curious what is on your radar, even if you have not sunk a lot of hours into it. And I can make. Oh, Jared's got one. Go ahead.
I've got two.
2.
One that I just started that I want to get bitten by and stay in, Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader. The other one, okay. This kind of paints me into a corner. The other one is Warhammer 40,000 Darktide, which I started and then
I played that
fell
too.
off, and I want to get back into. So,
all right,
I
I
guess
can
it's a
vouch for both of
Warhammer.
those.
Yeah.
So I'll
Definitely
say, having played, I don't know, probably 10 hours or something of Rogue Trader, I want to put a pin in that and come back to it, like maybe on a future episode, because I want to talk about how I feel it does role playing. But suffice to say, I like it so far. But apart from that, as I mentioned before, I ignored all new releases this year, except for Starfield, I guess, and Rogue Trader. But I want to check out both the new Zelda game, which, by the way, guys, there was a Zelda game that came out this year.
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
And the new Diablo game. So I know like basically almost zilch about either of them, because I haven't been paying attention. But
I actually think you will be delighted by The Legend of Zelda. There is stuff that, unless you've specifically been like looking into it, there is stuff that will surprise you.
Very cool.
I'll leave it at that.
I still never finished, Breath of the Wild. Like,
I never did either.
I did that Zelda thing that I typically do with those games, where it's like I play like all of it up to the point where I'm ready to go into the final dungeon, and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Good enough.
It's because you're afraid of commitment. It's because you're just
that
like, I'm
must be it.
comfortable right here, and I
Yeah.
just stay in my little zone. For me, I've got kind of an interesting answer because I've got 3 games that I picked up in the last month that are all kind of roughly the same genre, and it is turn-based tactical games. There was a sale on the Mario and Rabbids sequel, The Sparks of Hope, which, from what I understand, is really good. Takes everything that was good in the first game, makes it better, and they open up the game in kind of some new ways. So I'm excited about that. I played the first couple of levels and just kind of haven't gotten back to it, and I'm not satisfied with that. I want to specifically make an effort to go do that. The new Harebrained Schemes, the creators of Game Bytes' multi-year running winner, definitive winner, BattleTech, they've released a
Yes.
game called the Lamplighters League,
Lamplighter.
which is a turn-based, story-based tactical kind of game based on kind of like 1930s Indiana Jones Cthulhu investigation
It's a
type.
super rad setting. It's
Yeah,
super
yeah.
rad.
Like you don't see it a lot, and I've played a bunch of that, and they have different classes. Like you've got sneaky thief types and big brawler types. And, kind of, you can sort of assume what it would be, but Harebrained Schemes did that, and they're just kind of doing something that's really creative, and I do want to get back to that one as well. And then
Was there any word, real quick? Was there any
Yep.
word about like more BattleTech from them?
No, I think the
They
3
moved on.
expansions that they did, yeah, I think they've. But
Yeah.
a sequel would be pretty cool. I mean, that
There's
is a
a-
universe that
there's a
is
lot
wide.
of MechWarrior 5 coming out. In fact,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Mech Warrior 5 clans and
Yeah.
Well, the BattleTech like miniatures game. So I've got a couple of those models and painted them. I've yet to like try out or even read the rules really. But I keep seeing more minis that they put out that just look like really cool, and it's very cheap compared to Warhammer too.
the,
So
the tabletop game itself, I think, has really had quite a renaissance.
yeah,
Yeah. The Catalyst Studios.
Yeah. It like in the past 2-3 years, I think has really taken off.
No
I've
doubt.
got-
yeah. I painted the starter set that just came with 2 mechs,
got
but I
4
really kind of
boxes.
want to pick up the others. Ooh.
I've got 4 box sets. I need to paint some of them.
I just want
I've
someone
got a
to
bunch
find
of, like,
me.
extra cards. I got a aerospace fighter right here. Look.
Dude, it genuinely is one of my favorite
Sweet.
intellectual properties over these many years. And when BattleTech came out, I was thrilled. And the fact that MechWarrior still is there, like it's real good stuff.
I need to go
and then
restart
my-
another campaign of BattleTech.
Yeah, and that's been modded up. So you should try that special like weird mod version of the
Yeah.
campaign or whatever. And then the last one I'll just add really quickly is that the Marvel's Midnight Suns was on a decent sale on.
I was
that's
gifted
nice there,
that.
drop shop.
For Christmas from a friend.
I just found, so I played a few levels of it. I found out that you get to design your own character, and so I designed the most hideous, like lion mane, 70s mustache
course.
dude
Oh,
to be like
Sabretooth.
this. Yeah, like
There too.
so. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm just
Robot.
so I'm excited to have like this terrible looking guy in all of these cutscenes, fraught with portent and superhero drama. And it also is a turn-based kind of tactical game based on position.
XCOM. It's like, I mean, it's the
Yeah,
XCOM people.
all of these are
Yeah.
all like XCOM, and so all of these 3
That's
just in the
wild.
last month or 2 I've picked up, and I would like to spend time with each of them. So that's
I've got 2 games on my list, and one is Alan Wake 2.
Ooh, I've heard
that
really
is
good things.
Same. I really like the first one, and I just didn't pull the trigger on the second
I
one.
want to see
and-
the Control crossover, like if they've dug in more into that. Like,
I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
they have.
I think they did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's on my next playlist. After I wrap up Ragnarok, I think I'm going to be digging into Alan Wake 2. And the other one, as I mentioned, I always have a single player game I'm working on and a bunch of multiplayer shit. Well, the last 2 seasons of Overwatch I've finished, including the current one.
Wow.
But there's a game that came out right the day of the Game Awards. They announced it at the Game Awards, the finals. I don't know if you guys have been
I've
following
seen
this
that.
game.
No, I've seen you. I was going to ask you about this one because every time I feel like every time I'm logged into Steam, it's like Legrand's playing the finals. I'm like, what is the finals?
It is replacing Overwatch as my multiplayer shooter of choice. And Hunt Showdown I haven't touched since the summertime.
Huh.
But the finals is incredibly fun. It's made by the guys. So the former former head of studio for DICE that made the Battlefield games, and he actually was the head of the studio for EA for a while. He did something. He was the executive over there. He left and took a bunch of talent with him, and they made the game called The Finals. They're also the guys that are working on the game called Arc Raiders, which is a co-op-y shooter game. Anyway, The Finals is a fantastic multiplayer shooter with amazing vibe, amazing destruction, just like the old Battlefield games, with Bad Company 2 in those games. And it's really competitive and amazing. And I can talk about it more another day, but I've put 20 hours into that game since it launched around when the Keeleys happened. And I'm going to be playing a lot more of that game. Overwatch has been seeing my playtime when I want to play by myself and when my friends are all online, like we're all playing the finals. There's probably 2 groups of people on my friends list playing the finals together right now. And it's cross-play completely with PlayStation and Xbox.
That's so good.
It's all cross-play.
More of that,
As
please.
it should be.
More of that, please, Deep Rock Galactic. Guys, that is going to do it for this catch-up ketchup and mustard episode.
Wait, have we got to 30 minutes yet?
Yeah, exactly.
We're like
30
right
minutes.
at, yeah.
Right at it. Right
Okay,
at it.
just making sure.
After the outro, we'll be hitting about 31.
So we're pretty close.
We'll just cut out my
Close
portion.
enough.
It'll be
That's
fine.
right.
Close enough.
I don't know what to say for this outro because it's like you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/GameBytes Show. We're streaming there live for you special people who are there seeing it as it's happening. Of course, we will publish this out on our Podbean website, which has done really well for us, has not cut us off at the kneecaps as of yet. And of course, we'll be back at some point. I think we want to do this. It's just a question of kind of finding a good schedule for it.
Aligning schedules is one thing.
And-
Yeah,
and-
for
and-
sure.
The challenge.
Listen, you can still on our website find an invite to our Discord server and
That's the
special
place
shout
to be.
out. Special shout out to people who are hanging out with us there on the Discord server. We're still there doing freebies and dank memes and all kinds of good things there. So still have a little community that is very close knit, tight knit. And thanks to you guys for pinging us occasionally and saying, "Hey, when are you going to do another podcast?" Because we hear
Even
you.
today, someone's like, "All I want for Christmas is a
Yeah.
new podcast." We got
That's
you.
right.
We got
That's
you.
right. Here we are. So, guys,
Santa
that'll do it for this
delivered.
episode of your Game Bytes Show podcast. We'll see you real soon in 2024. We definitely want to do a year in review for 2023. Maybe talk about our Game Bytes, the best of this past year, and look ahead to what is going on in the news of video games, the video games themselves, and the deep and intellectual discussion of what other people ought to be talking
Deep
about when it
lore.
comes to video games. That's it. Dale Jones, LeGrand
Yes.
Jolly, Jared Dunn. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you,
you.
listeners, for being here. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Boop. Hey, we
Did
did
it.
it.